So the Moogle Tombstone event is back, but I swear it is less grindy than the first one, so you should actually check this one out. Deet's coming up. So today I want to announce an event that was just revealed to us last night, and I think that this is an event that is absolutely worth everyone's time to look into. And so what this event is called is it's called the Moogle Treasure Trove, the Hunt for Mythology. If you remember back in May, if you were playing around that time, we had an event that was very similar. It was the Moogle Treasure Trove, the Hunt for Philosophy, and so that was about May-ish until the 5.0 Shadowbringers launch period. And so during these events, basically what you do is you take certain events like dungeons, PvP, the main story quests, and then you do them, and then you collect a special type of currency, which is like the tombstone with the Moogle face on it. And then from this, you can exchange these items for, or rather the currency, to get items. And so there are some special items for each event that are unique, like the Mameshiba earring, that's the little dog that you see right now on the screen. And I'm not really sure why they have this like job mastery magic prism on the side, because it's very clearly not really the biggest item that you'd want. But either way, I can swear if you're not interested in these items, this is also a very, very, very lucrative way to make gil. At least it's going to be at the start. Okay, so this event is going to be launching on Monday, September 30th at apparently 1 o'clock a.m. PDT, and it's going to be until whenever patch 5.1 hits. And of course they have to not leak when patch 5.1 is going to hit, but it's planned apparently to be late October. So you're gonna have a few weeks, probably 3-ish weeks. I don't know how late October they mean. Like, is it gonna be literally Halloween? I don't know, so it could be 4-ish weeks. But either way, I think that this is definitely gonna be a sliver of time that you really want to get into. And so how you can tell if you're going to get Moogle Tombstones from things is you're going to have like these Moogle faces beside all of the objectives. And you're not just limited to like the leveling dungeons as you see here. You're going to be given a huge variety of options, such as you can do the main story quest. And as you can see, like they're also worth a lot. So if you ever really dreaded Praetorium or Castor Meriandum, which rightfully so because they are pretty long, they actually do give a whole lot of tombstones. And so this is also something that's really nice, is that you can like just kind of spam them, or alternatively, if say you're leveling an alt job, if you get like main story quest experience, that's actually a significant chunk. I can say between level, what was it, 68 to 69, because I personally found level 68 to 69 the biggest hurdle in my way. I would use a main story quest roulette, and then essentially I think I'd get like 55% experience or something insane. It basically made the entire leveling process for that level kind of a joke for very little effort, because I'm not going to say that these dungeons are really hard, because they're not. Maybe a little annoying at times, like Castor Meriandum does have invulnerability mechanics, but I can't really say that they're hard. And so this iteration though, they have included PvP, and if you remember, the Garo event is ending with patch 5.1, and so the way that event works is that basically you do PvP, and now you're going to be getting these special Moogle Tombstones, as well as you're going to be getting the points to exchange for Garo gear. And so definitely you're going to be wanting to look into PvP, and that's actually going to be a series that I'm going to be starting up really soon, because I think that it is probably more important, especially with these being announced, than ever, because if you get 10 of these PvP events, you're going to be able to exchange it for an item that is extremely high in value for a lot of people. Also, of course, you can do the raids like the Labyrinth of Ancients and all of these other things, just leveling dungeons and stuff, just normal stuff. And then likewise you can exchange them. But before I go into like what the items are that you're exchanging for, I really do want to talk more on kind of like the Hunt for Philosophy, because that was our last edition of the event that we had. And so essentially that ran from May 30th until late June-ish. And so that wasn't too bad. Like it was an equal kind of like sliver of time. But one thing I want to say is for both Castor Meriandum and Praetorium, you only got 3 tombstones of philosophy, these special Moogle tombstones. And then for the raids you only got 2, and then like for dungeons you got 1. I'm going to be the first person to say that I actually completely skipped this event, because I'm just like, I'm not going to grind that much for such a little reward, because it's just like, not that I want to say it that way, but like my time I value more than getting like 3 tombstones where I can trade 3 of them for like a Namazu earring. Like I love the Namazu, I love them, but I can say like I don't love them that much that I'm gonna do grinding these for 100 just to get a Namazu earring. Is just like, nah, man. If it was like the ultimate glamour body piece, okay, sure, whatever. But in this instance, I'm like, no. So that's definitely a boost. So if you were looking at this event and you're just like, oh god, we've already gone through this and that was hella grindy, that grind has absolutely been alleviated a huge amount by this one. In fact, maybe I should be editing the video to have the opening line be like, this is really different than the last one. It's not as grindy, because I think that that's a very important point, because it's just like, who wants to do Castrum or like Praetorium, like, what is it, like 100 divided by 3, like that's what, 34-ish times, and it's like, I don't want to do that. I can tell you, I really don't want to do that. Or doing like Tamtara Deepcroft, no, nah man. I don't know if you could do it level unsynced or not, but either way, I'm not gonna do that like 100 times, no thanks. But this time, it's far better, and honestly, with the Gara event ending, I think that PvP is going to be your best option, because you're going to be getting 5 of these Moogle Tomestones, and you're going to be getting the event points for the Gara event. And those matches, while they can sometimes go a little bit in duration, generally I've found that they don't last too long. I think that they're around 10 to 20-ish minute mark, so it's not too bad. And likewise, if you're ever curious about where you can exchange them, here's just the map locations on the map. And now I really want to get into like the items, because I think that there is actually a really good amount of items that you really do want. And so remember that this is all just my personal opinion, and I'm just going to go through all these items and kind of point out what I think is really useful. And first of all, Mamoshiba earring, I think that it's good, and I think that if you're really into that, totally go for it. But for me personally, that's not what is motivating for me in this instance. Okay, Ignition Key is okay. I personally would never use that mount. I think I got it ages ago and it just sat there. There's much better mounts in my opinion. Now we have the Round Lanner Whistle and the Sophic Lanner Whistle. And I think that these are two things that you should actually really pay attention to. I personally do not like the bird mounts, and I know a lot of people that kind of share that sentiment, and I know a lot of people that disagree with that, but these are definitely like the collector mount items. So one of them is from the Night of the Round Extreme fight, and so the other one is from the Sophia Extreme fight, and so these were kind of like Heavensward Primal fights. So currently we have Titania and we have Innocence X, and then they drop their respective dragons. I mean, everyone calls the Titanium one Spiral, and so they are absolutely something that's very much seeked after and kind of like a prize item, like, oh, I beat this, right, haha. Although you can say, are these items being presented here lowering the value of it? Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, because it's just like, oh, well, did you get it from actually grinding the Extreme Primal when it was actually relevant, or did you just like, what do you call it, get the Moogle Tomestones and exchange them? And so kind of brought into question, although I have heard that people do them unsync, and so is it really ever gonna have the same weight as it did when the content was current? No, not really. But if you're just interested in getting like a lot of gil and like starting up, I think that this is actually one of the lowest bar to entry ways to make a lot of gil. And so we have the Answers, Orchestrion Roll, Twilight over Thanalan, On Windy Meadows, and Whisper of the Land. And so all of these Orchestrion scrolls, I can actually really say are worth a lot of gil. I'm just gonna say it. They are worth a heck of a lot of gil. Especially the Twilight over Thanalan Orchestrion. How to say it? That one currently on Gilgamesh is way over 3 million gil. And so to someone who does a lot of crafting or just has like hundreds of millions of gil, that's like, oh, that's nothing. But to anyone who's starting, I mean, if you're wanting a head start on your crafters and you're like brand new to this game and have not touched a lot of content, getting a 3 million boost would be great. Reeling back enthusiasm and bringing it back to reality, I think that they are going to absolutely nosedive in price, because I think that a lot of people are going to be like, hey, this is actually a really lucrative thing, and I can get my PvP gear that's going away permanently, and so that's limited time gear, so that's going to be really premium, what you call it, glamour items. I can get a good bunch of gil at the same time, and so you're going to see a lot of people very interested in PvP over the next few weeks. In terms of the other things like the Thundercloud, the Behemoth stuff, which it's okay. I don't think it's really worth it in my opinion, but of course that's just going to come to personal preference. Then you have all these riding maps, and I'm just going to be honest with you, I do not think that those are worth it either. Just join a hunt link shell, and then you're going to be getting a lot of these, and Do you really need any of these riding maps? No, not really in my opinion. I think that they are more specifically useful for hunting when you want to get from point A to point B. Say you have to go like deep into like the Sylph area and your mount isn't really fast enough to get in time for the hunt. And because if you ever do hunts, you know people's gonna early pull, then it's useful. But if you're not doing that kind of content, I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you, most of those maps that you see right here are not like current relevant to-date content, and most of the to-date content isn't even on here. Like, yeah, I don't see any Stormblood maps, I don't see Heavensward maps, and I do not see any Shadowbringers maps, and so I can't really say, oh, these are really worth it because it's current content. No, unfortunately, no. And then you have things like the Drake, the Laurel Gabu, the Alps, and whatever else. I do not think that these are really worth it either. The two that I will say could be worth it would be the Guvfaxel and the Markab. I have definitely butchered the names, and so I am sorry. But definitely the Gulfaxi whistle and the Markab whistle, I'd say, are more worth looking into, because these are going to be drops from the extreme primals from the original Realm Reborn content, and then you can eventually upgrade them to horse. So they're kind of like the birds that I was talking about before, that are kind of like more collective items. And so yeah, I think that those are really good. In terms of the rest, like the wind up, Skahatch or the wind up X-Death, I cannot recommend you buy these. I know that they're only 7, quote unquote only 7, but really if you're doing like raid roulette or just running a raid, there's a very high chance that you're going to be getting one of those. Because a lot of people already have it, and so it's just like, hey, if you just want that one, just run the raid. I can't tell you to get this, unfortunately. In terms of the Odin cards and all the rest, if you want to complete your collection, go for it, and if you want the other 2 Orchestron rolls, then go for it. I think that I might pick them up because they're only 7, but I don't really think that they're worth grinding out for personally. Finally, we have the Craig Heart and the Demi Materia of Craigs, and I think that those are very kind of situationally useful items, because you can make glamour pieces with them, but are they like the high-end glamour pieces that I see people really wanting? And no. And likewise, these aren't like the most lucrative item. Mind you, I mean, for such a low bar to entry, they are pretty nice, so if you're like a newer player looking to make gil, these could be a nice alternative. And then you have the Magic Prism, a job mastery one. In my humble opinion, I really would not be wasting any of your Moogle Tomestones. So kind of to wrap everything up, we have this event coming up, and it is absolutely worth your time doing. My personal take is that I would be running PvP, kind of double dipping. You're going to be getting the PvP, which could translate to a little bit of experience if you're using it on an unleveled job, and it can be getting you points for the Garo event that's going to be ending, and it can also be getting you Moogle Tomestones. And so expect some PvP videos kind of going over the basics of PvP and kind of like what to expect and how to like kind of succeed at it and have a good time. So that is all for today's video, and thank you so much for tuning in, and hope to hear from you soon, and hope you check out my next video. Well, thank you so very much. I greatly appreciate it. See ya.